Welcome back to Build Your Best Life. I am Coach Ricardo Miller, and oh, am I overjoyed. Listen, guys, this is Let's Talk About It. And I mean, listen, we are going to talk about it this evening on behalf of Coach Deborah D. Smith and the Board of Directors of Build Your Best Life. Listen, guys, we are dedicated and more committed to ensuring that mothers with sons understand the assignment and sons understand some of the things they have to navigate when it comes to building their best lives. Well, my guest today, he has been on this platform before, and it's a joy to bring him back. And listen, let me tell you something. The brother is so good, he was prepared to do this on short notice. And so listen, MacArthur Glaze, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing amazing, man. I'm honored to be here tonight.
Listen, man, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I believe that what we're about to share is going to help a lot of people. And so I've read your book. I've sat down and talked with you, man. And I'm impressed, brother. You got something to say. And so let's start off by basically just go ahead and let people know a little bit about yourself. Where did you come from in regards to the guy with the voice, the guy with the assignment, the guy who has committed to making a contribution to humanity?
Well, man, that's a great start. That's a hot start, but a
Yeah.
good place to start. A little bit about me, man. I'm from Belle Glade, Florida. It's a small town in Western Palm Beach County. It's known as the Muck.
Okay.
We're known for a lot of great, many great athletes, well-known athletes. The Muck is a small town, small migrant town, about 20,000 people. And so I grew up in that town, chasing rabbits, picking beans, doing all of the things, the little things that boys do. But you asked me, where did the voice come from? Where did the message come from?
Yeah.
I think a lot of what people see today, it came from my own brokenness. It came from my own pain. It came from my own trauma as a child. I tell people all the time that I wouldn't change nothing that I've been through in the past, because it gave me the passion and the compassion and the drive to do the things that I'm doing today. So I've been married 23 years. I'm a husband. I'm a father of five. I am a purpose coach, and I'm a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I'm an entrepreneur. I own a trucking company, a logistics company, and a food brand called Outrageous Flavors. So that's me in a nutshell.
Listen, man, I'm impressed. People who know you are impressed. The question I have for you is, you ain't afraid of your story.
Yes, sir.
What's up with that?
Well, I mean, when you go through so much pain as a child, when you've cried so much as a child, you have to get to a point in your life where you said, I'm either gonna go at this thing, full throttle.
Yeah.
I don't have time to be scared no more. So once I met the Lord Jesus Christ and I gave my life to him, and then he gave me purpose and helped me identify my purpose, I didn't have any time, man, to, live in fear anymore. The word of God said he's not giving us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. So having a relationship with Christ gave me the sound mind that I needed. And having a relationship with the Holy Spirit gives me clarity on the mission that I'm on.
We are in the month of July, and there are persons who they want to maximize their potential, but they're not addressing the root. Tonight we're talking about, listen, guys, the surface versus the root. That is a chapter in your book. Okay, it's a chapter in the book, and I love the fact that you got it in the background. That book, you were able to bless me. I have a signed copy, just so you all know. I got a signed copy. This All signed copies are kept in a secret place, okay? Because see, when you go global, I'm like, hey man, don't play at me, man. I got the signed copy.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this chapter, man. The whole concept of the surface versus the root. What's the origin behind that?
Well, a lot of times I tell people, I heard a man say this one time. They said, if you see a turtle on a post or on a fence, somebody had to put the turtle there. And a lot of times in my own life and working with youth, I had a lot of experience in youth ministry. I worked in youth ministry for over 20 years. I worked in the juvenile detention center as a volunteer, ministering to young broken men and young girls. And I've even had the opportunity to speak on death row here in Texas and throughout the prison system in Florida and Texas. And the one thing that I noticed people would always do, they would judge the person's actions.
Mm.
They would see little Johnny stealing out of a store. They would see little Johnny breaking in a car, but he keeps coming back to the detention center for theft. But there's a deeper issue that nobody never pays attention to. They're judging the action, but what about the root cause? What's the true cause of Johnny stealing? And the thing that I found out was Johnny was not really being bad. Johnny was living with a grandmother that was on a fixed income because his father was dead, his mother was in prison, and now the grandmother is trying to raise him, and little Johnny was just trying to feed himself.
Wow.
That's all it was. I mean, it's not a pass for Johnny, but I do understand Johnny. So with the judges having a big, large caseload, they're just going case by case by case by case, reading the charges. They're never really getting into the root cause of what really is going on with Johnny. Or another scenario, you see angry men, you see angry boys. We're seeing it all over social media now, where we see people jumping through the drive-thru trying to fight on the people that's serving the food, and we see people fighting at their jobs. But when you begin to sit down with these young men, or you begin to sit down with these young women, sometimes it's mother wounds, sometimes it's father wounds. There's always a deeper issue. Last thing I would say is I have a tree in my front yard. It's called a holly, and on that tree there was some brown branches on the tree. Just in one little area, just some brown branches on the tree. And I couldn't figure out like what is this one spot brown, but the rest of the tree, it's beautiful. So I cut that spot out, right? But a couple of days later, on the other side of the tree, there was some more brown branches showed up. So now I'm confused. I can't figure out like why the tree is having these brown spots. I just cut it all out. But later as I studied later, I realized that the problem is in the roots. It's in the roots. So the tree is really no good. There's a disease in the tree, and it's not visible to the naked eye until the brown spots or the brown leaves begin to show up. So there's something that was sucking the life out of the tree.
Yeah.
And when we see the behavior of the destructive behavior of young people or adult men or whoever it may be, there's a root cause to it. So that's what I mean when I talk about the surface versus the root.
Love it. Love it. Now, let me ask you this question. When we really think about young men, when we think about even mothers trying to deal with their sons, what is the motivating factor for hiding this oftentimes? And the reason why I use the word hiding is because you're aware. You're aware that you are mad, but you are not mad at the teacher. You ain't mad at the kid you just punch in class. You ain't mad at your boss, but you're mad. You're broken, and you are aware that there is pain, but nobody else knows because it's the root. What do you believe is really birthing the hiding factor?
Man, that's a really good question. There's several. I think there's several reasons why. One reason is a lot of men don't have the language to what they're experiencing on the inside. A lot of men don't have the language to the brokenness. And the reason why they don't have the language to the brokenness is because they've never seen another broken man express himself in a healthy way. Wow. So growing up for myself, I was told one day, I remember riding my bike, and I tripped over my bike some type of way. I got up, I ran in the house, and I was crying. I think I was, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And my mother, God bless her soul, she said, "Suck it up. I'm not raising no punks." Right. And when you hear that all the time as a young man, you begin to suppress your emotions. And society haven't given men, I think, a safe place or allowed men to safely express what they're feeling without the man feeling like he's soft. So yes, I know that I'm having a problem. Yes, I know I have this brokenness. Yes, I know I have these anger issues. But who can I tell this to? Even your friends sometimes will tell you, like, man, don't do the mushy stuff. Suck it up. So I think a lot of it is culture. And the culture just haven't allowed men to really be vulnerable and show their vulnerabilities.
When did you tap into a deeper level of yourself beyond that of the surface guy who could have, 16, you're cool, 19, you're pretty cool. But when did you really lean into, I want to know me, and go where most men don't go in relations to you?
Well, I said this way. I've been married 23 years now. I think it was in I want to say I don't know, maybe year 12, 13, 14, somewhere up in there. Me and my family and I, we was leaving the house. We was in the garage, and we was going somewhere. I can't remember. My wife said something that triggered me, and I lost it in the garage. I mean, I lost it. I mean, I freaked out. I can't even remember what she said, but whatever she said, it just sent me somewhere, that I hate I went. But I looked in the car when I was coming down. I saw my wife crying. I saw my kids crying in the back seat. And immediately when I calmed down, I apologized to them and told them I was sorry. But the best part about that is I knew something was wrong and I knew I needed some help. So in that moment, I took it upon myself to do research and try to find out why I was having these outbursts, why I was having these problems, why I was dealing with these anger issues. And so I was willing to do the work. And me doing the research that I did, I discovered that I had some emotional issues from the trauma that I experienced as a young man. I was rejected and abandoned by my mother and my father. I was born with heroin and cocaine in my system. My mother used heroin and cocaine the whole 9 months of her pregnancy with me, and I was birthed that way. And not only was I birthed that way, my mother left me in a crack house. No disrespect to her, but she prostituted her body. She did all of these things in front of me as a child. And as I was found by a lady that lived adjacent to Belgrade in a town called South Bay, Florida, she brought me into her family. But as you can see, I'm a very dark brother. Dark men wasn't in back then. It was Chico DeVarge, the light-skinned brothers. So they used to pick on me. I've been called, blacker than me, mongoose. I can only see your teeth. Tar Baby was one of my nicknames, Gorilla. And when you go from being rejected by your parents, being born on heroin and cocaine, and then being criticized and picked on because of the color of your skin, it causes you to have emotional and mental issues that you don't have a language for. And so as I got older and began to do the research after this event in the garage, I realized that I needed some help.
He realized he needed some help. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Build Your Best Life. Let's talk about it. Today, we're leading into the subject, the surface versus the root. And ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes we're dealing with the surface and not going to the very core of the matter. Listen, MacArthur, there are a lot of people who have never been taught that there is real root issues beyond what we're seeing. And now we're talking about this, right? The concept that roots can be treated. Come on. Roots can be treated. I love my yard, and I've discovered that there are times, listen, the top of the tree can be looking good, but if you overwater the plant, you can stop messing the root up. And over time, it just messes, So there are a lot of people who are lying because of the root. There are a lot of people who are angry because of the root. There are a lot of people who picked up addiction because the root, the stronghold in a lot of people's lives are attached to roots, right? So my question to you then is, when you are working with people, and you knock on that door and says, hey, I don't want to see the paint on the outside. I don't want to talk about the fixture on the roof. Can I come in? What the mother who is listening today, she needs to say, can I come in? The teacher needs to learn how to get in. What kind of skill set you think is required in that regard, and how do we go about that?
Well, I think not to disregard therapists, because I really believe in therapists and I really believe in therapy. But I know for me is when somebody has taken a true vested interest in me, when you show me that you truly care about what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through, I'm willing to open up and expose and let you in when I know that there's a true care for myself. So me in my line of work, I don't go straight I don't go into a relationship trying to get in.
Right.
I build a relationship. I want the young person to know me and know who I am and understand my motives. And once they know who you are, they know that you take a true vested interest in them and that you truly love them. They will automatically let you in when they build that bridge of trust. So you said, what should the mother do? Sometimes the mother can't get in. Sometimes the mother may have to entrust the child to a therapist or to somebody else, a gentleman if it's a male, maybe to another female if it's another female, and the parent has to be comfortable with knowing that you may not be the person that the child feel comfortable letting in.
Let me ask you this: how can a young man identify his root issues? Like, like, man, I don't know what's going on, but what's the starting point to really getting an understanding?
Well, for me, and I always refer it back to me because this is where all of my work come from, just based on my own broken life, is when I began to interact with other healthy men. And when I began to interact with other healthy men, I knew it was something off with me. So anybody that's broken, once they're out of those toxic environments, they will begin to see themselves. And I think you have to remove yourself from the toxic environment. When I was living in the inner city and everybody was doing the same thing, everybody was acting the same way, everybody was saying the same things, it seems normal.
Right.
But then when you go to a different environment, you realize a lot of the things that you were taught, a lot of your actions, they're not healthy.
Right.
And when you realize that, you have to get past the fear and the pride and the shame, and you have to seek the help that you need.
The fear, the pride, the shame, they are not easy to overcome. They're not easy to overcome and deal with from a mother's standpoint. They're not easy to overcome from the young man's standpoint. Give somebody some practical things they can do to get past pride and shame and just really understand, come on, you're 16 now. Come on. If you don't address this today, it can be the thing that really sets you back at 25, 35, 55. And so give us a couple of things that somebody's watching who's struggling with pride, right? Or shame, and that it's affecting the root, because you can't get to them because they won't go there.
Yeah, at being 16, the age that you use, it's a difficult age to get somebody to see themselves and admit. I have a 14-year-old now, about to be 15. And even though I work in this space, it's still a challenge to get him to acknowledge the pride that he deals with. I think pride is a result of the fall of man. I think it's just a result of sin. And it's a difficult thing at 16. So I would say for a 16-year-old, it would have to be somebody that they really respect and trust. It has to be. It could be a coach. It could be a pastor. It has to be somebody that they really, really trust. So I don't know, man. That's a difficult one for a 16-year-old. It's very difficult. And I've worked with probably over 500 kids, or more. And at those ages, it's really challenging. And what I've seen is it has to be somebody that they truly respect.
Yep. A Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, exactly.
I teach everybody needs a Mr. Miyagi.
Everybody needs a Mr. Miyagi. I agree.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, one of the things that I teach is someone is assigned to help you.
Right.
And so God has never left us alone.
Right.
But you have to be open and be willing to trust. Let me ask you this: how can a young man identify the father wounds, the generational wounds, the rejection, the trauma that is shaping the young man, but they're not even him? Then like, you realize, I had to start realizing some things is generational. It's not even what I wanted. It's just what I became accustomed to just because it was passed down. Low self-esteem was passed down. Fear, intimidation, doubt. And you're like, you're so educated to be doubting so strong. Right? Talk to us.
Yeah, I think there's man, that's loaded. But it's a powerful question. I would say this, man, and this will go to the women. This is where I think the women in our lives are very important. If it's a mother, or if it's a wife, or is it a aunt, a grandmother? I think that women can speak in a way to empower the men in their lives, whether it's the boy in their life. So for a mother, I remember there's in the Bible in the creation story, the Bible said that when God brought the animals to Adam, whatever Adam called them, that's what they became, right? I remember that, and I think a parent or a husband or a wife or aunt or whoever, they need to speak to what they want to see that person become. If they want to see this young man become whatever, a doctor, lawyer, this great character young man, I think they need to speak to that. Regardless of the behavior that they're displaying, speak to what you want to see him become. And I think that's where your friend circle is important. You need to surround yourself with positive people that can see the best in you, the people that believe in you. So I think it's critical, even what you listen to, the things that you allow to go in your spirit, the things that you read. I'm very strategic. My son asked me, he said, Dad, why you don't listen to rap music? I say, son, I don't listen to anything that doesn't feed me in a positive way. I mean, by nature, I'm already bad. The Bible says that we was born in sin, shaping in iniquity. So by nature, I'm already bad, right? So I don't need to continue to feed my mind with negative things, with things that are not positive, and I don't need to associate myself with people that don't believe in where I'm going.
Such powerful words. Ladies and gentlemen, today you're watching Let's Talk About It. I'm Coach Ricardo Miller, and listen, I am sitting in for Kim Brown, and I'm talking with MacArthur Glaze, and we're talking about this whole concept of the surface versus the roof. And a lot of times, moms, you're watching, you got a son, you got to pray about the roof. Because sometimes, these things aren't revealed just by affiliating yourself with somebody sometimes. What's the role of spiritual deliverance in this whole process? Or even discernment in this whole process, MacArthur?
Man, the role of spiritual deliverance, man. Wow. That's big. You don't hear that term anymore. You really don't hear the term spiritual deliverance in the body of Christ anymore, because
right.
I think there's a thin line between trauma and spiritual deliverance.
Yep.
So I know now we're in this era where everything is about trauma, everything is about therapy.
Yep.
But in actuality, man, spiritual deliverance is real.
Yeah.
I heard a preacher say this one time. I heard a preacher say that he said, I am fighting demons that my parents didn't kill.
Woo!
He said, I'm fighting demons that my parents didn't kill.
Yeah.
So, what I mean? So otherwise, I'm fighting choices that my father didn't make. I'm fighting choices that my parents made, or that my parents made. And I know with me, that was my fight. Yeah. So I think a person really has to be serious and honest with themselves. You really have to take a long look in the mirror and be willing to just do the work, willing to confront whatever those issues are within you, whatever they are. You have to be willing to confront them. If there's spiritual deliverance, I think you have to seek that, whether through a ministry that's set up for that. And if it's therapy, you have to seek that. If it's both, you do prayer and you take your medicine. I mean, you do both. I think God works through the medicine just as well as he worked through prayer.
Yeah. Listen, man, I was thinking what you just said about what that preacher said. And I'm looking back at my life, and I could see, even in the culture sense of my development, one of the things we were taught was really the principles of surface development.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never used that term like that before, but the surface development is how people look at you. Right?
That's good.
How people look at you. And it's only in the last 5 years. My son is 24. In the last 5 years, I've been sitting down and talking to him about the root. I was like, let's talk about the root. Let's go there. And it's interesting, MacArthur, because like you mentioned just now, a lot of times we are carrying stuff that should have been dealt with before.
Right.
right? And so now it's a stronghold in our life. And a lot of people aren't real with themselves to say, hey, listen, I dealt with this. I've been
Yeah.
dealing with this.
Yeah.
And I could take this giant out, but I'm telling you, you got to be aware that you could feed that same seed that can end up becoming a giant in you even after I get delivered or free. You understand what I'm saying? And
Right.
so the question to you is, why is healing important before hustling? Because there are some people, man, I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to make it, MacArthur. I'm trying to make it. But why is healing important before hustling?
Man, that's a good question as well, man. You ask good questions, man. you ask.
Hey, this is let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's
This
talk
is
about
let's
it.
talk about it.
Hey, I think healing is important, man, because if a person is not healed before they step into a position of power or they step into the light, they will only just destroy everything they've built. And you see it with athletes, you see it with entertainers, you see it even with preachers. You see a lot of preachers that, and I'm not beating up preachers, it's just conversation. You see it with a lot of preachers in the body of Christ that they didn't deal with the insecurities before they took the role or before they wrote the book, or you see these artists or before they made it to the big stage, they didn't deal with the insecurities, and they don't realize when the light shines on you, it don't just shine on your gift, it shines on your flaws, it shines on your insecurities, it shines on your weaknesses as well. And so when you don't heal before you take the position, you end up hurting other people. You just bleed on the people that's following you.
Hmm. You are in the process of writing a book.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about it.
Man, I am excited about my new book. It's called Kintsugi Man, God's Power to Mend What's Broken. And the title in itself is a very interesting title. A lot of people say, man, what is kintsugi? I never heard of it. Kintsugi is a Japanese art form where when they break pottery, they fill the cracks with gold. They highlight the cracks. Not like we do in America. When we see cracks, we try to hide them, or we just throw it away, we discard it. In Japan, they don't believe it's beautiful unless it's been broken. And if that's not a picture of God, I pay for it. and so I wrote Kintsugi Man, my upcoming book, because a lot of men feel inadequate because they didn't have a father in their life, or because they went through a divorce, or because they have multiple children, or whatever the reason is, because they lost a job and it's hard to get back on their feet, because they struggle with drug addiction or homosexuality or whatever their struggles may be. They think God don't want them, or God is that he don't like them. But in actuality, God sees beauty in the broken places. He sees beauty in it. And he's not like man, where when we make a mistake, we're thrown away. God, when he sees the cracks in the brokenness, he says, now you're ready for me to love.
Man, I'm excited about this book. When you mentioned that, I thought about the whole idea. You probably heard the quote before: broken crayon, still color.
Broken crayon, still color. broken crayon, still color, man. And man, while we're talking about, I want to thank you for writing the forward to the book. Yeah. And really endorsing the book, man. That's I really appreciate you for that. I know you don't put your name on anything, so the fact that you read the book and you was willing to put your name on it lets me know that it's an on time manuscript that needs to be out.
It's gonna bless a lot of people. Let's talk about this before we go. You know, this whole concept of brokenness and accepting your brokenness. That goes back to this whole the surface and the root. And a lot of people, you wearing your necktie, you wear your suit, you got your nice haircut. You know what I mean? You got it going on, but behind that, oftentimes, and the critical need as we get ready to bring our talk to a close, the critical need for relationships to say, hey, the guy wants to date the girl, but the question is, do you need to ask her, where do we need to go in this conversation before? When I was dating, man, I'm gonna tell you straight up. I asked my wife, are you on any medication? We were dating. We were dating, and then let me tell you, because I've had a past that was shocked with realities after And it's like you end up in a relationship, and now you're discovering things you need to discover, right?
Right.
So in our courtship, I was like, I want to know, are you on medication? Any medication? I'm not saying it's going to change the relationship. I just need to know before, you
Right.
know.
What you're getting into?
We'll get to what's another question I asked? What's another question? This a lot of guys can't ask this question to this date. My wife, I said, what is it that I need to know that nobody knows that you don't want to ever tell anybody, but I should know, but you haven't even told me?
Mm.
Come on, brother.
You know what though? As I hear you talk about that, right? I think that's the beauty of marriage, and you know, marriage on earth is a picture of what Christ is to the church, and I think that's the beauty of what God gets out of marriage. God is the only person that takes broken people to perfect people. He's the only one that does that. So you said there were certain things you didn't discover till later, right after the marriage.
That's the first time around.
The first time around, right? But I think it's set up that way though. I think it's in the confines of marriage where we discover these broken parts of our life. I've been married 23 years, going on 24 years. There's certain things about myself I would have never discovered if I wouldn't have been married. Yeah. There's certain things about myself I would have never discovered them if I wouldn't have been married, man. So I think marriage is a beautiful thing. It definitely reveals things that normally wouldn't be revealed, man.
Yeah.
So.
You know, one of the things I want to say this to young men, which is why I think asking good questions are important, not only of the people you're doing life with, but also questions for yourself, is there's a level of I know me enough to talk about me, and I'm okay with me, right? And the question is, are you okay talking with you? Because here's the deal. My ride or die, I want to know if you can run. I want to know if you have asthma. If me and you going to go out there and brawl, I don't want to know you having an asthma attack. And I was thinking you just look the part, but as soon as you get hyper, you had, I'm like, what's going on? You're like, oh, I forgot to tell you, man, I didn't bring my inhaler. Why are you going out here to fight with me? But because we have not had conversation, we've been hanging, but we have been learning.
Right.
And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, as you're watching, I think it's super important that difficult conversation be approached in a way to develop healthy relationship. What's your view on that? The whole concept of healthy relationships being rooted in the acceptance of difficult conversations.
Man, I think it's a beautiful thing. I tell me and my wife was married in 6 months. We was married. We met 6 months later. We was married. Yeah. So I share that, you know, before I say what I'm about to say. I tell people all the time, you know, when we're getting ready to get married, you know, these days we have 2 or 3 sessions with a pastor, right? What we call marriage counseling. I tell people that they should have individual therapy and couples therapy along with marriage counseling. Because there are things that you will discover in hard conversations that a skilled therapist can bring to surface before you even say I do. So I tell people, matter of fact, I just told my daughter this, that's 22 years old and dating now. I told her, even though I married your mom within 6 months and we made it, it worked out. I said, if I had it to do over, I would have waited at least 2 years. Because even though we made it, there was a lot of turbulence in the beginning, a lot of challenges. If we would have waited, there was a lot of challenges and things that I needed to get correct in my own life before I asked somebody to marry me. So I think the difficult conversations are the best conversations and needed conversations before I say I do. But one thing I want to say really quick, you start asking one question earlier, I want to comment on it, that when people have brokenness, you know, sometimes people don't think they can be great when they have this brokenness, but you can look at Moses. Moses had a speech impediment and he was great. You look at David. David was rejected by his father, and there was no mention of his mother. So we see instances where people was great. We could read the life of LeBron James, live house to house to house, become the second greatest basketball player of all time. You know, so you still can be great despite of whatever challenges that you face.
That is so good. That is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, before we go, listen, guys, you've got to go ahead and follow my brother. How can people follow you, stay connected with you, and be a part of your journey?
Man, you can find me on all social media platforms at MacArthur Glaze. All social media platforms. And my bookstore is MacArthurGlazeBooks.com. And that book, Kensuji Man, should be coming out by the end of the month. We will release our official release date this coming week.
Come on, that's what's up. That's what's up. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just heard a conversation that you could even go a little bit more into. If you have further questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section. And me and MacArthur at some point will answer the questions. If a question pop up, I'll pass it on to him if I can answer, because I know a lot of questions I can answer. But this dude is a smart dude. Before we go, hey, listen, man, you have acquired a skill to learn and study and embrace knowledge. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of that in this whole journey of knowing the difference between the root and the surface.
Well, I mean, in order for you to be in a value, you have to be skilled at whatever you do. So, to be honest with you, and I'll say this in all transparency, my drive and my hunger for knowledge comes from people telling me how stupid and dumb I was all my life.
Oh, wow.
So there's a part of me that's still trying to outrun that.
Wow.
And
Right.
so that's my drive. All the times that people told me I couldn't do it. I went to the slow classes, SLD classes, I had all kind of learning disabilities, and I was diagnosed as a person that had learning disabilities.
Right.
And I heard that all of my life. And the bad part is I lived with that label for about 30 years. Right. And I believed that I couldn't learn. Right. Until one day, I used to have my wife to write everything for me.
Yep.
This is in the writing days. We don't write no more. We do everything on the pad. But I used to have her to write for me all the time. And I asked her, to fill a paper out for me one day. And she was like, she just slammed on the table. If I keep doing this for you, you're never going to learn. I was upset with her for about 2 weeks. I didn't think I spoke to her. But you know what? That was the greatest moment of my life. Because it challenged me and it unlocked something in me, and it made me believe in myself, and it sent me on the quest to better myself and stop using the label that people placed on me as an excuse and as a crutch. So I love my wife for that moment.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Our stories are so similar because a lot of my past is rooted in the exact same thing, and I have this massive obsession for information and to get an understanding. I find it fascinating to discover the layers that oftentimes is not paid attention to, especially when it comes to human behavior.
Right. One thing I had to realize is I used to preach a message one time of a can. I had a can, and it was no label on the can. I would remove the label. And I would dent the can all up really bad, scratch it all up. And I would present that can to people. And I would show people the can and how dented the can was. And I said, if you put this can on the shelf in a grocery store, everybody will pass this can. Yeah. Nobody will pick it up because nobody can see the value in it. They don't believe in it. Some people would even say, how could this store have the audacity to put this can on the shelf? Yeah. But I would let them know that your life mirrors this can. Even though you've been through trauma, even though you've been dropped, even though you've been rejected, even though you may have been molested, even though you've been rejected by the world, even though you had educational challenges, the one thing that I had to realize, the value was still untouched. Come on. The value is inside of the can, not the label outside, not the scars outside, not the dents. The value is inside of the can. And how do you know the value is inside of the can? Because you take the can back to the manufacturer. And in our case, the manufacturer is God. And it's God that reminds us that what I put in you, despite of what you've been through, despite of all the rejection, what I put in you is still valuable.
MacArthur, Coach Deborah herself said there's a part two that needs to come to this talk. And so we got to make it happen, man. The chief has spoken, and I think people are enjoying this talk. But one of the things I love about Build Your Best Life with the digital space that it has created is that the content hangs around for a long time.
Yes.
I've had the opportunity to go back and watch some of my interviews that I've been a part of on this platform 2, 3, and 4 years ago. And as a matter of fact, I sent one to somebody not so long ago who was struggling with something. I said, we talked about that on Build Your Best Life. Check this out. Go back and watch this, you know? And so this speaks on way beyond the moment of our talk when it ends here.
Man, I'm honored to be here. I thank Coach Deborah and yourself for allowing me on the platform. I'm always honored to be able to say anything. When you grow up, I grew up being told to shut up all your life. And now that God gives you a platform, I'm honored to do that.
Well, you know, they're Floridians as well. They're from Jacksonville, Florida. You don't know where
Hey, no, you don't say Jacksonville. You got to say Duval. Duval County, man.
All right, man. Listen, man, thank you again for joining us on Let's Talk About It this evening. Guys, he will be back. We're going to do this again. The goal here is to introduce conversation to help mothers with sons, to help young men to build their best lives. And, you know, you extract the truth that speaks to you to get you to your promise. The Bible says the truth will set you free. And let me tell you something. Don't get familiar with the fact that, you know, this or that. Just understand what's for you, what's spoken. Now it's your job to say, oh, I heard what MacArthur said. I'm going to run with that. Okay. And so we'll be back again with a part 2, and I'm going to make sure we brand it as a part 2. We're going to do a countdown and everything. And so congratulations on the book that's coming out.
Thank you.
And so forth. We're excited about that as well.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me on the platform.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Let's Talk About It with Build Your Best Life. Listen, every Thursday, we came on a little bit earlier than normal today, but every Thursday we show up and we have an incredible conversation. Join us next week. I spoke with Kim Brown and she is ready. She has a great guest. And then we're going to see if we can schedule MacArthur back because he got some exciting things happening in his life and a lot of things happening on this platform that we believe that can definitely merge and help humanity in this mission with young men trying to build their best lives. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you again, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.